Well, everyone, welcome to the District 1 Advisory Board meeting. It's almost 10 after 6, and we do have quorum, and we're ready to go. So with that, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First, we'd like to go ahead and start off with the approval of the agenda from September.
Can we ask for a volume check for those who are on Zoom?
That's a fine idea. Anybody online, can you give a thumbs up if you're getting good sound? Fantastic. Thank you very much. We'll bring it back in. Back to the agenda. Do we have an approval of the agenda? So moved. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Very good. Is that all that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
And we need our two DAB members on Zoom to unmute so you can vote, please.
Act that way and disrespect us, and we're going to use the rules to help.
So to Donna, Michaela, can you indicate?
Justice that they.
Or you can type in the chat. I can see that too. You can vote through the chat or unmute.
Okay, I didn't even hear what was said.
The agenda. Approval of the agenda.
Aye,
So Donna, can you hear me now?
yes.
Fix your volume.
Let me know if you can hear my background. I'll have to type.
Yeah, we can
versus
hear your
talk.
background, so we're gonna
Okay.
make you. Kayla, can you hear us? Kayla?
You're on mute, just in case.
I can hear you. I commented in the chat, but I.
Oh, I see. Sounds good and the eye. Sorry. Thank you.
Very
Got
good,
you.
thank you. All right, moving on, we have an agenda. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a look at the minutes from last month in August, from August 3rd. Any thoughts, corrections? You guys actually noted? Seeing none, I'll be happy to go ahead and take a motion to approve. Has been moved. And seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Looks like motion passes. Very good. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and move into the Wichita Fire Department reports. And it just, do we have Firehouse on?
Firehouse
We do.
10.
Fantastic. Welcome.
Hold on, we
You're on mute, though.
we can't hear you. Hold on. It's not audio. Can you try to speak again from Firehouse 10? You're on. We can't hear you at all. Villegas, can you say something so we can see if we can hear you?
Yeah, I just unmuted.
Okay, we can hear you, but we can't hear Firehouse 10.
Hey, Firehouse 10, you see your mute button down there in the lower left? Click on the arrow that goes up, and then under select a microphone, hit same as system. Should be same as system for both. Nothing yet.
We can come back to you.
How's that? Better? All right. Okay. It's kind of finicky over here. All right. All right. Small technical difficulties. So first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jeremiah Toothaker. I'm a lieutenant Station 10 on the A shift. I was just recently reassigned back to Station 10. Lieutenant Michael Holscher had just recently got promoted to captain. So he is now on the city's south side, and I've came in to take his spot. I've spent 9.5 years here at Station 10 as a firefighter, so I'm familiar with the neighborhood and excited to get back and working with everybody. And I'm glad you guys are allowing me to be here tonight. So with that being said, we've got several notable fires that I'd like to report on. First one being 1100 block of North Delrose. That was possible faulty wiring. 400 block of North Pyatt. That was also faulty electrical. We had one in the 3500 block of East 27th Street North. That was a questionable fire right now. Our investigators are still working on gathering some evidence for that, and hopefully later on I'll have some more information for you. The last one was in the 300 block in North Volusia. That was from older style knob and tubing, so electrical wiring within the attic of the house. So a couple things coming up for the Wichita Fire Department. October is obviously our Fire Prevention Safety Month. This year's theme is going to be Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen. So expect to start seeing more public service ads coming from the fire department, from our PIO, in regards to steps to prevent household fires within the kitchen involving cooking. Also would like to add, I know it still seems like it's a little bit of ways away, but fall's right around the corner. So with the weather changing, we strongly suggest and recommend that homeowners contact a licensed HVAC professional to have their furnace serviced and cleaned. As weather starts cooling and people start turning on their heaters, we get an accumulation of dust that tends to smell like something's on fire, but more than happy to come out. But with that being said, having an annual service of your furnace tends to cut down on all those smells and odors that tend to linger around the house for a while. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions from the deck?
Out of curiosity, how much property damage happened from those fires?
One was for $45,000 to contents. Another one was $55,000 to contents. One was $10,000 to contents, and another one was $35,000 to structure and contents.
Thank you.
No problem.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you track property values saved as well as lost?
Yes, ma'am. So one of the things that our fire investigators do really well is they will look at the property value on the tax roll, and we often look at the total value of the home and generally subtract contents and damage to that, but then it shows a positive as to the structure saved that can still be salvaged on the tax roll. That's a good question.
Very good. Just looking from the number of people, do we actually have anybody from the community that's online?
There are people watching.
Okay.
From us in
Okay, very good. If there are any questions from the community, feel free to go ahead and either send them through the chat, or feel free to go ahead and speak up.
So Zoom, excuse me, Zoom are all presenters or DAB members at this current time.
Okay.
But Facebook Live has a different audience.
Okay, so very good. So Camille, if you actually see any questions, let us know and we'll try to help out. If there are no other questions, thank you very much. Good to meet you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, so that is, I believe, all that we actually have for fire. Is that correct? With that, we'll go ahead and move on to the staff report number 2, police department.
I think Chad sent me a note that he wanted me to go first. All right. My name is Officer Villegas. I'm the beat coordinator for 22 Beat, which is basically along the river over to Broadway. Just a couple things to hit on.
Bureau, excuse me, which bureau are you reporting from?
Patrol South. Sorry. Patrol South. But just a couple things to hit on. It has been this week. I don't know if next week's going to be any nicer, but the weather is getting to be pretty pretty nice out there. And with that, we see a lot of increased foot traffic. I got about a dozen cases for larceny from auto, 2 of which were over $1,000. The rest of them were under. So just kind of putting a friendly reminder out there that if you have items out, whether it's in your car, lawn items, any like trailers or anything like that that might have items on them, might take some steps to ensure that those are secured down. That's kind of one of our big issues right now, citywide, just the increased number of larcenies from auto. A lot of those in the downtown area for District 1 have been in parking garages. We've been beginning some work with our business partners that are there, and we're installing some license plate readers, some new camera systems, kind of just updating some of the old tech that just needs rehashed. And so they're really receptive to that. And we've already identified several groups of people that have been committing those. So we will follow up on those and just try to continue to enforce as best we can. Speaking of parking garages, the Warren parking garage, we worked with the engineers. Since it's a public garage, the city of Wichita is partly responsible for that. So we've actually blocked down the top portion due to some traffic complaints, some speeding, donuts that are up there on top of the garage. And aside from a couple of motorcycles that have been able to get through the gates, it's been largely a success. So we're going to plan on keeping that until we can come up with a more permanent solution. There were a couple of burglaries at Club Industry that's in Old Town. We were able to identify the suspect who broke in due to some really good video and again, just awesome partnership with the community. So we got them identified and they currently have a pickup for their arrest. Other than that, the only other thing I really wanted to touch on was the open door. There's been some concern from some neighboring businesses and churches about crime prevention. We've had a lot of issues down there. So what we've done is worked with those business entities to get some basically some trespass affidavits signed to where the trespassers, I mean, not the people that are out there seeking services, but the actual people trespassing and kind of targeting the homeless, we're able to get them out of the area and keep them out of the area so that those that want services are able to still participate and do what they can do to improve their livelihoods. The prosecutor's office is another aspect of that we are going to follow through with these charges a little bit more differently than normal. That way we can ensure that the message is sent and that it's a safe environment for everyone down there that needs the help. So other than that, that's pretty much all I have. Is there any questions on any of that?
Any questions from the dad? Very good. And again, if you have any questions from online, please feel free to go ahead and send them via text or otherwise. Otherwise, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I believe we have at least one more.
Sorry, I was having mute issues. Can you guys hear me okay?
Very good. We do.
Okay. I'm Officer Chad Burnett. I'm out of Patrol North, 45 beat coordinator. We did have a homicide on September the 12th, 1300 block of North Volusia. This was a known, the victim and the suspect were known to each other, so this wasn't a random shooting or anything like that. Officers happened to be in the area at the time, heard some shots going off, and responded over there fairly quickly. And unfortunately, the victim did succumb to the wounds there. They have identified the suspect in this case. They are actively pursuing him at this time. Besides, since it still is an open investigation, I don't have a lot more to go on it. We went out with Lavonta Williams tonight and some other members of her organization of Say Something, See Something, and did neighborhood out there, just kind of talk with the citizens to kind of give them a heads up that we were out there to listen to them tonight as well. And they did have a little bit of a retaliation coming the following night. After the shooting, there was a Molotov cocktail involved at that same house. That is still under investigation. Also, there's no suspects involved in this. One of the occupants of the house was related to the suspect, so they're thinking that's where the leads that they're following with this one on that anyway. We have seen an increase in shots fired and drive-bys citywide in North Bureau. A lot of it, I think, has been due with our younger generation not being in school, just not having those activities to do right now. And I know YMCA is sponsoring some new activities that are beginning tomorrow and stuff as well, which are going to be great to get some of these kids off the street here as well. But this is just my local broadcast. I do at all the meetings and everything. If you guys hear any shots, just pass it on to please call 911. We love going there that night instead of playing catch up and trying to figure out what exactly happened the following day when no one calls. So on a good note, Brandon Johnson sent out some information reference some graffiti and some taggings that were along Redbud Trail. Officer Gouplon, who's out of Patrol North here as well, jumped on his bike the next day and then went and addressed that. I think all of that has been cleaned up except for some of the signs that it still had some graffiti and some other vandalism too, which are, from what he told me, they're in the process of getting replaced there as well. So, I mean, it was an awesome job on that. And myself, Officer Gouplon, Officer Stark, we've been trying to jump on the bikes a lot more, be a little bit more visible out there and just chit chatting with everybody. And besides just getting our old behinds into shape, it's been great and getting to know the community a little bit better and being able to talk and just sit down and chat with everybody there as well. So other than that, unless anybody's got any questions, and that's all I have for you today.
Very good. Any questions from the data?
So I'll ask one, Officer Burnett or Villegas, either one of you. Are we seeing a decrease in gun thefts? I know that I've seen a lot of push socially just for more people to purchase weapons, but are we seeing a decrease in that, or is that kind of remaining the same?
I don't have the numbers offhand. I know that our larceny section has been hitting Twitter hard, hitting Facebook hard, and trying to push that out there to make sure that those are being secured properly in the cars or taken inside the house when they're not in use and stuff, and make sure the cars are secured with that. I do not have the numbers right offhand right now. I can get those for you though this week and be able to present that to you very easily.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions from Deb or from the community? Camille?
If we can hold on a minute, there's a delay on Facebook. So let's, I don't know,
All right.
see if there's anything real quick.
Just a little bit that I've heard both of you talk. It's very encouraging to actually hear the partnership with the community and the interaction that's happening there on some of those cases. So that's good.
Oh yeah, it's been really positive. I mean, when we're getting out there talking to people, it's been a very positive feedback we've been getting. So
Good. Keep up the good work.
absolutely.
Quick question, what initiatives is the YMCA starting tomorrow that you were alluding to?
We have that as an announcement, if you can hold on.
We literally
It's
said.
so cool though. No, if you seriously though, if you'll hold on a second, we actually have that coming up in the agenda. It's really cool that, I'm glad he knows about it.
Good question.
Yeah, it is,
One is great.
right? No, I think it's cheap listening. That's good, to listen. To listen to what they're saying and actually remember what they say. Are you good on Facebook comments?
All right. Well, officers, thank you very much for your time. Have a good evening. Thanks for your service.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
So we'll move on to item number 3, Wichita Public Library.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me. This is Ann Ethan. I'm the branch manager of the Maya Angelou branch in District 1, as well as the Evergreen branch in District 6. And just a few, hopefully quick announcements. The library will be starting virtual programs this month. All programs will be on Zoom. They do require advanced registration. We have several different programs coming up in September, one on saving money on daily expenses, another program coming up about how to create a one-page business plan. The complete list of upcoming programs is available on the library's website under the events tab. We are offering one-on-one technology assistance if you or someone you know needs help learning how to use a computer, writing a resume, or filling out a job application online. The technology trainers at the Advanced Learning Library are scheduling one-on-one Book a Librarian sessions. That's by appointment only, and you do have to have a library card to use the service, but you can contact the Advanced Learning Library at 261-8500 if you have questions or to sign up. And for those of you who have been to the library recently, you know that we are open with limited services. The shelves are currently closed to browsing in order to help customers get what they want when the customers cannot go browse the shelves. We're doing several different things. First, we have a concierge service. You come in with a list of books you want. We'll go to the shelf and retrieve them for you so you can check them out. If you don't know exactly what you want, but you know you want some books for your kids about the ABCs or whatever, we'll go grab some books and let you look at them and see if that's what you want to check out. On the website, there's reading recommendations and a grab bag service you can use. You can fill out the forms on the website, and then library staff will be in touch in order to put together a list of recommendations for you. And finally, you can go to the library's catalog online, catalog.wichitalibrary.org. You can place a hold on any items and you can pick them up. If you do not want to come into the library, every location has either curb service or a drive-up window. If you do want to come in with a mask, you can come inside and retrieve your holds and check out inside. And that is all I have. If there are any questions.
Questions from that?
Are the sessions you talked about at the beginning of your report, are those going to be recorded and like made public for folks to utilize if they can't attend the actual event?
On the upcoming Zoom programs, I can't, I'm having trouble hearing.
A question, can you hear me?
I can.
Hello, and I miss you. And are the sessions being recorded so that other people can view it if they're unavailable to attend on that day?
I do not have the answer to that question, but I will get it and email it to Camila. I know when we did the Zoom gardening programs that the research and extension folks put on for us, those were recorded. So let me find that out and I'll email that answer to Camila.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And one last thing, you mentioned a telephone number for those people that wanted to schedule something one-on-one. Would you repeat that and then maybe also put that in the chat too?
Sure. The main library number 261-8500, and I'll put it in the chat here in just a second.
Unless there are any other questions from the DAB or from the community, we'll call it good. Thank you very much, Ed.
And
Thank you.
A 1-minute commercial break because on Facebook.
Just from a procedure perspective, I think, would anybody object if I asked the community first to see if they had questions on these reports real quick and then bring it back real quick? And then maybe, we'll do that at least for Park and Rec. Maybe not for the new business items, but I'll try to remember that. All right, very good. So we'll move on to item number 4, Park and Recreation.
That's you. That's your text message.
That's my text message?
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold on just a second. Okay, I don't have a text message.
Great. Camila will be reporting from behind the scenes. it to your work number. All right, for Park and Rec Department, fall classes have begun. Classes can be viewed online at wichita.gov/park and recreation or the Evolve magazine link. Gym rentals are picking up at the rec facilities for sports teams looking to utilize safe, secure, and affordable gyms. That ends the Park and Rec report.
Very good. All right. Just because we don't actually have a Park and Rec person here, I don't know if we'll actually even take any questions on this, so we'll just go ahead and move on to that. So with that, we'll move on to the public agenda. Because there are no scheduled public agenda items this particular month, we'll move on to item number 6. Is there an individual from the community that would like to go ahead and bring up or discuss any off-agenda items by chance? And with that, I'm going to recommend that while we wait for the delay there, we move directly on to item number 7 and give the floor to the council member, and then maybe come back in case there are any off-agenda items.
Could I suggest we just do a chair in front of the camera if you want to come closer for them to see?
Yep.
Be in the hot seat. You can be in the hot seat.
Try to avoid the hot seat.
I'll put my mask on and go a little closer.
No tough questions.
You gotta come closer so I can see you.
How about no question?
There you go.
Come on.
All righty, I will start with all the cool stuff. Maybe. All right, so we talked about this Saturday at the District 1 breakfast, a really cool initiative. Veterans can ride our transit system free anywhere in the city of Wichita. We have this flyer, which I think is available online as well. But all you need to do is bring one of these accepted forms of identification to show that you are a veteran, and you get to ride all of the routes free, courtesy of the Dole VA and United Way of the Plains. So that is a really awesome opportunity for those who have served our country. In addition to that, routes connecting with Wichita State University, so routes 21A and 202A are also free for everyone. And that can connect you to the Dirksen Fine Arts Center, spaces on campus, the YMCA on campus, the Metroplex, and Tall Oaks Apartments and the other apartments along Oliver. So those routes are free for anyone. And we have that available as well. And also you can show your shopper card as proof of being a student at Wichita State. And then the program that Ms. LaWanda wants to know about. So the YMCA just announced this. We shared it on social media. It's called the Fresh Connect. It is available it's a free program for public high school freshmen to assist with the transition to high school and online learning. So they can go over to the Steve Clark YMCA on campus from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And during that time, you can have supervision, tutoring, and support. And then from 3 to 4, physical and social activities. Free Wi-Fi will be there so that if you don't have access to that at home, you can go up there for free. Great opportunity. Definitely appreciate the YMCA on campus for doing that for folks.
If I can add behind the scenes, students can take the device that the school issued to them up to the Y and be able to connect to the YMCA's internet services while they're there in the classroom setting, the freshmen.
Yep, and it's a great opportunity, especially having that tutoring help. For those of you like me who may not know everything that the young people are doing, having tutors there is always a good thing. Tomorrow at St. Mark Cathedral, Kojic, 1018 Delrose, Pastor Brandon Pierce of Change Church of Wichita is having another opportunity to come get free food. With all the COVID concerns, this is actually a touchless service. So all you have to do is pull up, pop your trunk. Volunteers will put this in your vehicle for you. And it is first come, first serve. He's been able to get between 22 and 25,000 pounds of produce delivered quite regularly for folks who need it. This is another one of those opportunities tomorrow, again, from 12:30 to 3. And then also on the 18th from 12:30 to 3 at Wichita State University in the Coke Arena parking lot. If you were there Saturday, he did it last Saturday. Great opportunity again to get free produce for families who need it in this time. And last printed announcement, if you are not aware, we do have masks available at all of our resource centers, so Atwater, Evergreen, and Colvin. It is the cloth kind, good kind. You can reuse those and make sure you wash them. And we have went the additional step to add supportive programs to that when you pick it up. So you get to learn about opportunities to get assistance on minor home repair, home improvement loan programs, lead safe Wichita paint hazard remediation program. And if you have rentals, there's a rental rehabilitation loan program. I've had a few community members reach out about helping landlords. So that's one opportunity for you. So pick up a mask, you'll get the resources as well as other information if you are needing some help from Center of Hope, Salvation Army, or the United Way. So definitely some good resources to get, as well as a free mask. There was a large amount of masks given to each rec center. So even if you don't just need that and your family needs a mask, you can come get a quality reusable cloth mask at our rec centers. That's all the printed stuff. Just a few more updates. Camila, correct me if I'm wrong. So looking at the census, we've been talking about the census quite a bit and how we've been underreporting. It is Sedgwick County as a whole that is at about 95% reporting right now, which is really good. We need help on the last 5%. So the workers are still out. We're still encouraging people to fill out the census. So if you haven't, make sure you talk to your friends and family about that. But 95% reporting is really good. I haven't looked at the map today to see where the 5% help is necessary, but you can find that at my2020census.gov. Check that out. Also today, if you were not aware, the county did extend their mask order through October 21st. This is no longer voluntary. It is mandatory that you participate. They have an 11 p.m. curfew. You might have seen an article about some of our bars or restaurants that weren't following that order. They now will have to follow that order, or there could be potential consequences coming from the county side. So that did happen today. If you have questions, I would recommend reaching out to county commission or someone on the county side. I just read that, wanted to share it with those watching. And lastly, I had a chance this last week to tour Public Works. I hadn't done that yet. We kept having scheduling issues and found out they do quite a bit more than I ever thought they did. I saw how our street signs are made. I was able to actually make one. It's a handmade, tedious process. Some machine work, but each one is pressed by a human. So there's a lot of work that goes into that. Public Work does all of our vehicle maintenance in the city. So everything from fire trucks down to our fleet that we have with vehicles, our police cars, all of that stuff. It's a pretty amazing facility. All of those workers do a wonderful job. And I should have said this earlier when fire was on, but I was able to see the new hazmat truck that's coming to Station 10. And I don't know how many of them were able to see it, but I was able to see that, and it is pretty big and it's pretty cool. So that all happened. I think that's all of my updates. There's a vote tomorrow on the council regarding the Linwood Branch Library and the opportunity in Clap Park for a library in District 3. So the council will discuss and vote on that tomorrow. And aside from that, I think that is all I have. Aaron told me I didn't have to answer any questions, so. But are there any questions from anyone? Dad or public? I guess I should announce that Bank of America made a really big contribution to the Black Alliance and Atwater Neighborhood Resource Center and Evergreen. About 30,000 masks were donated from Bank of America to all of those areas. So that was pretty amazing. it's a way to build up a stock for what's coming this fall and be able to give out masks to more people. So that happened. We are very thankful for that and appreciate, again, local businesses giving to those who need help.
We need volunteers this Saturday for 2 neighborhood cleanups.
And we need volunteers this Saturday for 2 neighborhood cleanups. You can always reach out to Camila for that, and Kate Alexander at wichita.gov to help out. We tend to not announce where those are in advance just because of all of the illegal dumping that we see, but the neighborhoods know when it's coming. So if you want to help out, reach out to Camila and she can connect you.
8 to noon, and they end sooner with the most volunteers present. These are two cleanups in District 1, near Atwater, very close to Atwater. And so community service hours are available. You can also call us at 303-8016 to sign up to volunteer.
Any other questions, non-questions?
I am out of the hot seat. Make sure you're registered to vote, ksvotes.org.
Very good. So with that, we'll go ahead and move back to item 6, just in case anyone did have any off-agenda items that might have come through while we were waiting on the delay. Camila, did you see anything that came through by chance?
No.
Okay, very good. So with that, we'll go ahead and move into new business. So let's talk about downtown streets.
Hello, and good evening, everyone. Scott Wadle from the Planning Department, here to talk about downtown streets and really to make you aware of some opportunities for public input. And I've got a PowerPoint show I'd like to go through with you. I'll try and keep it pretty brief. I'm going to try and share my screen. Oh, looks like it's not quite, looks like I don't have permission for that.
Hold on a second. I have it pulled up to share for you.
Oh, okay, wonderful. And I think that's kind of a theme for tonight. I mean, you guys have talked about parking, you've talked about transit, and now we're going to talk about streets. So you've got a little bit of a transportation theme going on.
What can you see?
I can see the PowerPoint.
So if I go here, does that help you? My screen went blank. What do you see?
Uh-oh, yeah, mine looks blank too.
Oh, here it comes. You got slide 1?
I can see, yeah, I can see slide 1. We can use this view if that works better for you. Or just what we're looking at right now.
Go for it.
Okay, so again, downtown streets, next slide.
You know what? I can screen share if it'll help you, if it'll be better.
Okay.
I'm on slide 4. I'm gonna stop sharing and then come back to screen share with you. It says screen share. You wanna try to?
Here we go. Can everyone see the PowerPoint?
You can see what you put up before you started sharing.
Hold on, there's a delay, Scott, hold on.
Okay.
This is different. I can see your screen share, but they can't as in DAB members.
Oh no. Okay. Well, I
can go back. Hold on.
I'll stop my share and I'll tell you what, I can just go ahead and do this verbally. It's okay. We don't really need the PowerPoint.
I can flip for you though. I can go back and flip for you.
Yeah, if you want to, that'd be great. If that's easy. If that doesn't work, like I said, we'll give that, how about we give that one shot? And then if it doesn't work, I can just do a verbal update.
Okay, there's slide 2. Slide, there's purpose. And here's
Yeah,
slide.
It's not changing a bit.
That's perfect. Can you all see that?
It's not changing a bit. Oh, I think you might have like a dual monitor set up going.
Oh, I do have 2 screens going on. How do I get rid of this?
Go into display settings and there should be an option for duplicate instead of extend.
You're awesome. I don't know what I need to do.
Power of working together.
For the desktop, you should be able to right click and it'll say somewhere in that list, it should say, like, Matthews, or like display settings or something.
Get on over here, IT guy. Hold on. Here.
So right click on the desktop, display settings. Right here, so you have the multiple displays, and if you want the same thing on both, hit duplicate.
You're awesome.
Thank you, Seth Windsor.
No problem.
Appreciate your service to the city.
Send you my bill.
See what had happened.
All right, Scott, what do you see now?
I can see the flyer and the postcard. How about you all?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Well, it is now a good time to continue then?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, here's my whole purpose for being here tonight to talk to y'all is to encourage you to participate and to let other folks know that the city of Wichita is working hard to collect input on some concepts that have been developed for the downtown streets. And we're doing that through multiple ways. We had previously scheduled to do an open house in March. It was one of the first events that was canceled due to COVID. So rather than doing an open house, we're doing a online survey. We're going to be also doing social media town hall, and we have a stations set up at Century 2 that people can come by themselves and check out and provide feedback. And some of the ways that we're letting folks know about this is we've got some posters that we're putting out, and we're also distributing about $4,500 worth of postcards to people in downtown so that businesses and residents will be aware of this process and have an opportunity to participate. So here's a screenshot from the survey. The survey takes probably about 5-10 minutes. It's very easy to do, and it's available on the project website, which I'll mention in just a moment. So it just opened up today, and I believe by 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, we'd already had something like 80 responses. So we're off to a really good start. Next slide, please.
I think you can click. Try to click.
Oh,
nope.
Yeah, no luck.
Me either. Here we go.
Okay, perfect. So here's the website, wichita.gov/downtown streets. Next slide. So the timeline, just to give you a little bit of background and where we've been. So we had DAB meetings in February. Obviously in March, the open house was canceled. So we're currently conducting the survey and social media, collecting input through those formats in September and October. And later on this fall, we hope to have some updated draft concepts and really a planned document for folks to review. Next slide. So just a quick overview of where we've been and the process to date. This is the boundaries for the downtown streets plan. It goes north up to Murdoch. It's Washington on the east, Kellogg on the south, and generally the river / McLean to the west. Next slide. So in terms of the process, we've done a lot of listening and discovery up to this point. We're currently in the design phase, and this is really an iterative phase where we come up with concepts, we provide them to the public, we get reactions, we go back, we refine, and later on we'll take them to advisory boards such as yourself and many others to collect input and feedback. We'll refine the designs based on that, and then ultimately it will go to the city council for their consideration. Next slide. So throughout our history, our streets have changed and they've evolved over time to meet the needs of the present day. As part of this project, we're looking not only at what's needed in order to better serve and meet our community goals and aspirations today, but also what can be done to help out with future productivity, future vibrancy, future goals that the community will have. Next page. From the open house that was held in 2019 and from other input sessions that we've had, which I'll talk a little bit more about further on, there's a number of goals that have really emerged. Health and safety, mobility, active transportation, a vibrant downtown neighborhood, good management of our resources and infrastructure, embracing innovation and technology, and fostering consistent economic investment. So these are the goals that we're really looking towards and aspiring to help implement and achieve as part of this plan. Next page. So far, February 2019 was when the initial kickoff meeting happened. That was, there was probably more than 100 people, I think, at Distillery 244 in Old Town that attended that. In April, there was a series of open house events, really focusing on Douglas Avenue, also providing some input into the downtown streets process. In June of 2019, we were at Riverfest and held an open house where people could come in and work on the designs with consultants and designers at the time. And then in September, again, we're working on the open house, really not open, it was last year of 2019, it was the Open Streets event, I'm sorry, where we had a booth collecting input. Next slide, please. So here are just some images of those different events. One of the comment cards, we've got a number of those. Next slide. So that is really about the process. This section is to give you a little bit more information about the concepts and what you'll see as you take the survey and if you visit Century 2. So we inventoried the streets, how they're currently functioning, how they're currently laid out, number of lanes, direction of travel, whether they've got parking alongside them, those types of things. Next slide. We looked at how transit uses the streets, which streets are participating as part of the bicycle network. Next slide. We also looked at the amount of traffic that's using the streets on a regular basis. And again, this is all pre-COVID numbers. Next slide. And what we were able to do is we were able to look at the number of lanes, to look at the amount of traffic, average daily traffic that takes place and uses those corridors. And from there, we were able to figure out which streets could perceivably see some change with minimal impact to traffic patterns and which ones could not. For instance, if you look in the lower right-hand corner here, you'll see Washington as it intersects with Kellogg and goes north is orange and yellow. Those are streets, corridors that we would have the orange certainly is at capacity. We probably don't want to make any changes to that. The yellow is areas where you've got to be very considerate about what you do, look at it very carefully. Green, however, you can see the majority of downtown is areas where there's lots of excess capacity. The streets right now, as in the way that they're laid out, could handle a lot more traffic. And I think the phrase that you could get a speeding ticket in downtown during rush hour is one that kind of exemplifies currently the level of capacity that we have on our streets. Next slide.
Scott, before I move forward, I'd like to point out for people that the map on the north is Murdoch Street and Kellogg is on the south. McLean is to your left and Washington is to your right.
Yep, thank you. Very, very good thing to point out there. So as part of this project, in terms of when we're looking at the streets that have excess capacity and we look at what opportunities are there, sometimes the concept, in some cases, the concept of a road diet has been introduced. And there have been road diets done in Wichita to date. Generally what happens in that situation is that you would take a 4-lane street and you would reconfigure it to be a 3-lane. And there are very dramatic safety improvements that occur with this. And that happens for a number of reasons, but a large contributing factor is that you no longer have cars trying to make left-hand turns from the inside lanes, which creates blind spots. And it also, in some cases, can lead to a T-boning crash, which is one of the more severe that you can have. Second, 2 and 3 lanes, in this case, 3 lanes, also provides really good benefits for pedestrians crossing, because you're able to put in medians and refuges. The other thing that you can do is that it removes a double threat, which is an incident where one vehicle stops in a 4-lane street, but the second vehicle that's traveling in the same direction does not see the pedestrian and ends up hitting them. So 4 lanes are, the trade-off though is that 4 lanes can be good, reasonably good at moving traffic. In most cases though, a 3-lane will do better. It just depends on how many left turns are taking place. But overall, 3 lanes have better traffic capacity. They also have much, much better safety statistics. Next page. There's other factors, other considerations that were applied was one-way street versus a 2-way street. Again, there are trade-offs on this. One-way streets generally have better traffic throughput. On the other hand, they also produce higher speeds, which if there's a crash that occurs, leads to more severe injuries and fatalities, can lead to fatalities more frequently. A 2-way street does constrain traffic, generally results in lower speeds. It also provides a more direct route to get to your destination. It's a little bit more predictable for people who aren't from here. So again, there are trade-offs, and as you'll see in some of the concepts that have been developed, some of the one-way streets have been conceptualized as going to 2-way, others have remained 1-way. Next slide, please. There's some examples. We've also looked at what other communities have done to try and learn lessons from them. Here's an example of from Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is one where they actually did a road diet and found that it did not, they converted from 1-way to 2-way, and it was successful, but it actually didn't achieve the outcomes all the way that they were looking for. And so later on, they came back and redid it as a 3-lane from a 4-lane. And they saw, again, pretty good improvements in terms of safety and walkability. Next slide. Greenville, South Carolina is a community that a lot of folks have pointed to. They did a lot of road diets and really re-looking at how they were moving traffic in their downtown back in the 1970s. And it's often cited as an example where economic development has really followed the significant changes that they made to the way that traffic in their streets were used. Next slide. So part of what we're looking at here is it's a trade-off, right? In some instances, there's a trade-off of vehicular service. So that's how well the roads can be used and are traveled with motor vehicles. And then livability at the bottom is how good is it as a place to stay, to linger, to do commerce, right? To enjoy. And sometimes we're looking for opportunities where if there's a way that maybe sometimes it results in a slight delay or downgrade in vehicular service. So maybe you have to wait an additional second or two in traffic, but the end result is a huge, large gain in livability. Well, those are some of the things that we're trying to consider and at least talk about as part of this project. And you'll see that in some of the concepts. Next page. So again, these are the goals that we were looking at. Next page. And then this is an overall map that shows the concept overall, because again, this is a project that's an opportunity to look at the downtown streets as a network and not just individual corridors. The lower section that's shaded in the lower left-hand area, that is the Riverfront Legacy Master Plan area. And we really haven't done much in the way of talking about the concepts for that because there was a separate planning process underway for that. On the right, you'll also see that there's a note about the city doing upgrades to the signals. This is a long-term project, but it's underway substantially even today that they're making plans, and I think the contracts were approved late last year. And so this is something that's going to go in and it's going to help a lot with traffic flow in and by itself. Next slide. So the other thing that we're doing is we're looking at the streets and the concepts for them and how could these be synchronized to help and assist with economic redevelopment that's taking place. I know you probably can't read it, but these gray shapes identify development that's either planned to occur, is occurring, or has recently occurred in downtown. And there's a number of, there's numbers in there with symbols that indicate which ones they are. These were collected from communicating with downtown Wichita on where these are taking place. Because what we don't want to have happen is we don't want to come out with a concept that doesn't promote the economic well-being of our community overall, and especially also those projects that are currently underway or will be underway shortly. Next slide. So there's recommendations regarding, or concepts, I should say, regarding transit. This concept would focus transit to two main corridors. It doesn't mean that they won't be on other streets, but would focus quite a bit of effort and routes onto Douglas and onto Broadway, using those as main trunk lines. Also, it would extend the bicycle network to a number of other streets, including 3rd Street, Waco, which has recently been redone, Waterman on the south. So you'll see, you see those here. Next slide, please. When we talked about one-way to two-way conversions earlier, this is the diagram that shows that. You can see Market in Topeka, Emporia, and Main Street, as well as English, have been identified with concepts showing them going from one-way to two-way. Next slide. So Emporia is currently a project that is underway. There's been, and what I mean by that is that there are designs that have been developed more in depth than even the ones that you're seeing right now. These were developed after a series of public meetings, both with the stakeholders and I believe it, also with the DABs. Engineering would have brought those forward. Those were recently approved by the city council. And so I think the next step is implementation. Next slide.
The DAB did receive an opportunity to hear this.
So Market in Topeka, currently you can see the current vehicles per day volume there. Currently the way that it's designed, it could have a capacity nearly 10 times that. So what this concept would do is it would change it to a two-way street. It would have parking and then on-street parking. And then it would also have bikeways that are buffered with vertical protection delineation between the cyclist and the parked cars. And therefore the parked cars would also be a buffer between the moving vehicles. Next slide. I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but if you go to Century 2, there are boards that will have this in more detail. I believe we've also got this on the website, project website, where you can look up an individual block and you can see what the conceptual design would be for the proposed block along it. So you can see 3rd Street, between 2nd and 3rd Street, what it would look like, bike lane, buffer, moving lane, parking. I'm not going to go all the way through it, but just an example of some of the detail that you can look up. So this one's for both Market and Topeka. Next slide, please. Here's English. So it shows it going to 2-way, 1 lane in each direction, parking on either side. And the interesting thing about downtown is that the widths from curb face to curb face can vary pretty dramatically from one block to the next. So you can see in this instance that there's an opportunity to put in angled parking simply because the space is just so much from Topeka mid-block up to Broadway on English. Next slide, please. Douglas Avenue. This one you may have read about. There was quite a bit of feedback about this. Really, at this point, because of that feedback, we're looking at keeping it the way that it is. We do have in the online survey that folks can provide feedback about the current design if they wish. We're also looking at pedestrian improvements and how can we make it better for folks. But we've heard from the community that the current configuration is adequate and works well. And so we're just looking at how can we enhance it and make that better. Next slide. Okay, next slide. Already covered that one. I'll have to make a note to get that, move that from the next one. Broadway, this is one where we're looking at, it's currently a 4-lane. The concept would be to take it to a 3-lane. And because this is a street where transit would be focused, the 3 lanes would allow for a little bit larger lanes to accommodate the buses a little bit better, and also to allow for better pull-offs at the transit stops. Still with plenty of capacity for the amount of vehicles that are there today, or even we're using it pre-COVID. Next slide. Here's a little bit more of what you can find online. You can zoom in and look at it more in detail, but it's a concept that shows generally what it would look like. You can see the bike lanes on this one. There's a short segment of bike lanes that would extend from Broadway north of Central. The short segment would go transition from that down to 3rd Street. And then from there, the bike lanes would not be on Broadway. That's what those green stripes are. Yeah, so I mean, you can zoom in and you can see the detail on the website. Next slide, please. So the next steps, yeah, this is the old one. You can see the schedule was originally going to be going to the open house in March. We've had to adjust, and currently we're looking at collecting the input through this fall. So really September, October, and then having revised and updated concepts and ultimately a plan document by the end of the year for review by the advisory boards and ultimately the city council. So one quick note is that I just want everyone to know that there's no funding for implementation as part of this project. This is an opportunity to look at concepts and think about the downtown streets network as a whole and look at individual corridors. There's no programming of funding. There's no initiative or approval that this would result in directly for moving forward with any of the changes. It's just a plan and an opportunity just to think about the streets in a little bit different way. Any implementation would take separate action, programming of funding, approval of designs, et cetera, by the city council. So, and I just also please want to encourage you and request that you tell your friends, tell your neighbors about the survey. Check it out, go try it online, check out the website, and then look for information about the social media town hall taking place later on this month. So with that, that's a lot of information. Sorry to go through that so quick, but if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them, or you can always give me a call or send me an email anytime a question comes up. And thank you.
Thank you. So those people that are online, if you've got questions, please feel free to go ahead and bring those now. I know there'll be a little bit of delay, but while we're waiting for those, we'll go ahead and have questions here for the DAB. Any questions here in the room? I know I've got a handful.
Okay.
Get it?
The one-way, the possible one-way street to two-way street conversions, like specifically mentioned Market, Topeka, is that going to be for the downtown corridor only, or will that extend the entire length of both streets?
Oh, good question. No, very good question. The extent for this would be just to do it, the concepts in here are just to go from Murdoch to Kellogg. There would have to be some more specific design work that would be needed in order to tell, exactly where they would terminate and how they would do it, because obviously any transition from a one-way to a two-way is pretty tricky. So yeah, and that would take part is the more final construction design work that would take place as a separate initiative. But as part of this one, we've stuck within the boundaries from Murdoch to Kellogg.
I've got one more.
Go for it.
So for the proposed changes to Douglas, and this would probably apply whether it stayed a 4-lane or went to a 3-lane, but is there any thought of turn signals from Douglas to some of those side streets to ease traffic, or to make things flow a little easier?
I guess turn signals. So the question was about Douglas and its current configuration. Would there be turn signals added in order to help with the traffic flow? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for the portion that we're actually looking at for this one, it's concentrated from McLean to Washington. So at almost all of those intersections, there's currently a signal. I think in Old Town is the only area that doesn't, and they've talked about that and explored it, but I don't know that there's been any decision or recommendation about that at this point.
Very good. So Scott, a couple questions for me. You're in the middle of actually trying to receive some of the feedback here. Is there either any specifically Wichita unique feedback that you've actually seen and or feedback that surprised you at all?
Yeah, actually, when we set up the booth at Riverfest, and that was in 2019, we were there over the lunch hour, and there were obviously people who worked in the area, and a lot of the feedback that we got was about safety, and it was about the ability to walk downtown safely. The other thing was reports of lots of crashes taking place, and I wasn't quite expecting that kind of feedback. I mean, I thought safety was going to come up as an issue, but I didn't expect it to be so prominent in the mind of folks. Another piece of feedback that I got was there was a gentleman who had just moved to Wichita from out of town, and he came up and he was just really excited, and he was talking about Wichita. He was very enthusiastic, and it was great. And he said, Wichita really is an outdoorsy kind of athletic town. And I thought, wow, what gave you that impression? And he's like, well, I'm always seeing people out walking. I'm seeing them on bikes. And so I think that that's really notable. It's kind of a transition about what's happened in a relatively short amount of time in terms of, getting bike share, having scooters, having bike lanes. There's been quite a few, small changes that have amounted to, I think, quite a bit of change overall.
Fantastic. As you're looking at some of this type of stuff, are there any new technologies that would be interesting to talk about that are more recently available?
Yeah, In the recommendations that you'll see on Market and Topeka, and also on a number of other streets, in the last, I'd say, 7 years, 5 years, which is pretty short in terms of city projects, there's really been a push towards this vertical separation. So I have a post, or I have a parked car, or I have something that's relatively tall in between the bike lane and the moving traffic, and putting the bike lane up against the curb as opposed to putting it more towards the center of the traffic. And the technology that's come out in terms of how you place them, how you design them at intersections, and what types of features do you put in the buffer to create that physical protection has really evolved quite a bit. So it's been interesting to see that come along.
Very good. One of the questions I was going to have is related to Douglas. I remember a number of years ago, we were talking about Complete Street along the Douglas Design District. And I thought that we were moving along to the point where that was eventually going to make it into the CIP and some eventual planning. Compared to this, we don't have this in the planning, but this makes me think about Douglas. Where are we at in that process?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think as part of this process, and it's not directly related to Douglas and the design district. I mean, it connects, but in terms of where we are with that process, I think that project is still in the CIP. I don't know that it's for the 3-lane at this point. I think there's still some more dialogue that needs to take place. But I do know that there is a project for Douglas in the CIP, in the Douglas Design District. But I think the timing is that it's a couple of years out, I believe. I'd have to go back and look.
It's just related to the timing associated with this. If we're just thinking about this now, it took, what would you say, about maybe 10 years, or at least 5 or 6 years for the Complete Street to even make it into the CIP. So what we're looking at now, maybe we see fruition in 10 years. Is that a...
Well, no, that's an interesting comment and question too. Actually, it just depends. It really does. I mean, Emporia is being converted from a one-way to a two-way. And part of that, the reason for it is that there's a TGC building that's being constructed almost, I think it's nearing completion at Douglas and Emporia. And as part of that project, there was some dollars for infrastructure improvements. And they really saw a benefit to going two-way on Emporia, as well as some of their neighbors did. And so there was an opportunity to put that in. So that one's going in later on. I don't know if it's later on this year or early in 2021. We've also seen Waco be converted recently. So with some of these projects, they can be done relatively cheaply because they're mostly striping. The biggest cost is really working the signals. Because if it's a one-way street, you've only got half the set of a full intersection of signals. So, but it's certainly work that can be done, and it's relatively affordable compared to paving a new street and putting in new curbs and gutters and all that.
All right, so I've dominated questions. Anybody else have any? Any questions online that you saw, Camila?
No, can someone else look on their Facebook to see if you see me? I see 7 people watching. Do you see 7?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm hosting my own watch party at the same time, so I'm going back and forth.
Camila, you're multi-talented. Very good.
Shout out to our youth DAP member, Ruben. We see you on the call.
He had his picture on there for a little while.
Yeah, it's okay. Hi, Ruben. You got to look at on here. You're the only one here.
Hey, Scott, you gave us a great walkthrough, and I know it was condensed. Are there any other snippets you wish you had more time to talk about?
Oh gosh, I wish I could go through all the specifics with you. But I really just want to encourage you to take the survey, check out Century 2 if you have time, and just walk around and look at the boards and post your comments. Anything that folks can do to tell us whether or not we're on the right track with the concepts, whether they need to be adjusted. This is a great opportunity to get the feedback to us so that we can adjust where we need to, and we can know that we're on the right track if we've gotten them right, and if we've gotten them wrong, again, just adjust tack. So we really appreciate the time, and thanks for letting me get the word out about it.
Very good. Scott, thank you very much. Keep up the good work, sir.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and move on to item number 9 and actually hear from Tammy from the YMCA.
Yeah. Now that we figured out this hot seat issue, what if you just sit over there in that corner and would that help you? If you just join the table? Ooh, pray for me, this is a lot. Can you hear me here? Should I take my mask down a little bit? So, but can we get a mic check from somebody on the line? Can you hear our new speaker? Hi, this is Tammy.
Anybody here?
Hold on, I gotta go to the chat.
Yeah.
Tammy, keep talking.
Good evening, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here and enjoy hearing from Scott Waddle today.
Yeah, we can hear
her. There you go. Okay, I'm going to make this right here and let's chat. This speaker here. All right, go for it.
Okay. Well, my name is Tammy Creer. I'm a registered dietitian with the YMCA, and then together with a group of community partners, we're working in the city of Wichita, Sedgwick County, the Health and Wellness Coalition of Wichita, and then a variety of other organizations to work on a city of Wichita / Sedgwick County a food system plan. Essentially, a plan that addresses food in our community, and want to tell you a little bit about what it is and why we're doing it, and then how to be involved with it. And what's so interesting to me right now, COVID has changed so much, and we all know that. We were talking whether this is still a relevant plan to be addressing right now, and it was a highlighted yes, most definitely. I don't know about any of you, but if you ever went to the grocery store in the last 6 months and couldn't find something or saw empty shelves, I think it gives a lot of people a taste what people experience when they live in a food desert and run into that issue all the time. So it's really highlighted more than anything issues that exist in our food system, and so opportunities for us to address food in a more strategic way for our community. And it's exciting as a community member to have interest in the city and the county to do this work. We have a video to show you here in just a second, but I'll tell you how it came about and how it was funded. City Councilmember Kettle actually used to work with Health and Wellness Coalition before she went to the city in her current position, and had approached the city and asked if there's interest in doing a food system plan if we found funding for it. And so we wrote for funding from the Kids Health Foundation after approval from the city and the county saying, yes, we think this is important. Yes, this is something we want to do. Help us find funding for it. And then since then of receiving funding, Councilmember Kettle became Councilmember Kettle and has been helping with this project in a lot of ways as well. So Mila, I'm just gonna have you play the video real quick. Because I can explain what a food system plan is, but sometimes I think seeing it in visually in a video format sometimes helps it just drive the point home a little bit more. If you get to the second slide.
Right now, nearly 100,000 Wichitans live in an area without access to healthy food. That's just one of the many issues facing our local food system. I'm Shelley Rich with the Health and Wellness Coalition, and I'm going to tell you about a new master food plan that's going to address these issues and how you can help. The City of Wichita, Sedgwick County, and several community partners are teaming up to develop the 10-year.
So Facebook can see it, but you can't. Okay. You need to just listen to it. That's also okay. Yeah, y'all might have to listen to it while Facebook sees it.
This is a good group of listeners.
Yeah, this thing is Don't do that to me right about now. This is not cool. There's too much going on in my computer life. Okay, I have one PowerPoint, and you have. No,
Right now, nearly 100,000 Wichitans live in an area without access to healthy food. That's just one of the many issues facing our local food system. I'm Shelley Rich with the Health and Wellness Coalition, and I'm going to tell you about a new master food plan that's going to address these issues and how you can help. The City of Wichita, Sedgwick County, and several community partners are teaming up to develop the 10-year food system master plan. Through community feedback, we've narrowed our focus to a few areas: food deserts, grow our regional economy, local food production barriers, health and wellness, social equity, protecting natural resources, and reducing food waste. A few years back, the Health and Wellness Coalition did a study, and we found 25% of Wichitans live in a food desert, places where people don't have access to a nearby grocery store. The master plan will tackle what we can do to address the lack of access to healthy food for thousands. It's critical we consider fairness in our food system and how to better serve all of our neighbors. We're also going to address the barriers and challenges that limit local food production. We will study what would make it easier for more people to participate in growing activities, whether it's running a small family farm or starting a community garden. Did you know if Sedgwick County residents spent just 5% more on locally grown food, it would result in about $80 million more circulating through Sedgwick County each year? We'll also consider the barriers to getting that food into restaurants and homes and the effect this has on our local economy. Another important topic the master plan will address is how the barriers of the food system are impacting the community's health and wellness. When looking at the diversity of Sedgwick County, we want to better understand the challenges that exist that limit access to different food cultures. The master plan will also take up the issue of food waste and protecting natural resources as it relates to the local food system. What challenges exist that limit us from adequately addressing food waste? How are our natural resources affected by the local food system? We need your feedback as well. Please take a few minutes to complete a brief survey and share your experiences. You can also share your ideas on how to solve these problems. The survey is available in English and Spanish, so if you grow, buy, cook, or eat food in Sedgwick County, please take the survey and share it with others. If you'd like to learn more about the Food System Master Plan, go to wichita.gov/foodplan. Thank you for helping us work to solve the important issues facing Sedgwick County residents.
So basically, around our city and our county really.
Right now, we're
of having plans that really help align where partnerships happen, where investment happens when it comes to resources or time or treasure, things like that. So they have aquatic plans and walking plan and housing plans and things like that, but we don't have a plan that really addresses food in our community. So is taking the first stab at addressing that and having a strategic plan for our community. And across the nation, these are being done and have been done for years by states or local municipalities or counties as well. So we're not doing something that's never been done before. It's just not been done here before, but when it's done well, it really can help foster growth in economic development within food-based businesses, access to healthy food, empowering people to participate in their food system in ways they weren't able to do it before. So we're really excited about what we're hearing from the community, but also potential for a plan as well. Do you want to go to the next slide, Camila? So, wait. There you go. So why we need one, I've highlighted a few of the reasons why it makes sense to have one to be more strategic around food in our community, but also we have issues around food access. A quarter of our residents have low access to healthy foods. But then also we have an economic opportunity. If just 5% of what people in our community spend on food is kept local and spent on our local food, then it's $80 million that circulates in our local economy. So we have an economic piece of it, not just it's what's for the good of people or it's for the health and wellness of people, but economically it makes sense as well. So just really needing a plan to guide that process and be more strategic with it. Can you go to the next slide, please? An interesting fact that we found too, or maybe the next slide to come, is we consume a lot of food that we actually produce here, but we don't consume very much from being produced here. We produce
produce chicken, we produce eggs, we produce some fruits and vegetables, but the quantity that we actually eat, so little that is actually coming from our local producers, so there's opportunity there as well. So I just kind of wanted to paint a picture. I know this is really hard to see up there, and normally I would bring this in paper format, but I've been asked when I've come to things recently not to bring anything in paper, so I didn't bring it today, but I'll kind of explain this. It just kind of paints a picture of what example policies or programs could come from something like this. So it's not necessarily what we will do, because that will be based on feedback from the community, but up at the top left, that's a government institution, and they can implement farm and food-friendly policies. So what that means, they might, they govern zoning and ordinances and how land use is used. But that really impacts food producers, like our local growers and farmers. So if there's policies that better support our local producers, they might be able to increase what they grow or increase the help on their land so they can grow more, which gets more for the consumers. Consumers then are able to increase their demand around local retailers to carry that as well. And when local retailers increase their shelf space, that increases opportunity for food producers. So that's just one example of how a policy shift or a lever that can be pushed can impact downstream the other pieces and people in the food system. And that's just talking about food producers, not necessarily access to healthy food in grocery stores. So there's other policy levers that exist. So there's a lot of opportunities for a local government to not necessarily regulate more, but just have align policies that make sense around food. You know, the next slide, Camila.
This is why I deserve a prize.
Multitasking and multiple robots, okay? Yeah, exactly. So like what Scott was saying happened to their planning process, COVID-19 happened to us. We started this project back in the fall of 2019. And in the spring, we had planned to do all of our community engagement and wrap that up. And then mid-March, most things got shut down. So we had done a lot of reaching out to the community, stakeholder engagement, roundtable discussions, and then put some of them on pause for the summer. And then we have picked it up now. We're finishing up with more community engagement, roundtable discussions around our specific topics that we want to hear from key stakeholders, but then we're also doing a community-wide survey. So asking people to participate, like you saw in the video. If you eat food, we want to hear from you. If you buy food, we want to hear from you. So we get a wide variety of people's experiences around food, but also their priorities for themselves and priorities for their community around food. So it's a simple survey to take it online as well. And then our goal is to take what we're hearing, put recommendations together into a plan, and then take that to the City Council and County Commission probably early 2021, just depending on what we find what we want to recommend. Speaking of roundtable discussions, there's two this week. I think Councilmember Johnson, you're planning to send one of them, and LaShonda, Luanda as well, planning to send them. And Camila, that's right. And you can send it to someone else as well, but it's around the topic here of increasing access to healthy food and fostering social equity. So we're reaching out specifically to people who are knowledgeable in that area, who can talk about the barriers that exist, but also policies or solutions that we would recommend as well. We hear from the community, but we also want to hear specifically people who kind of work in that area to get more specific recommendations and suggestions as well. And then how to be involved is let people know that we're doing this work, and we want to hear from people if they eat food, grow food, buy food in our community, so that we can help hear from them so they can help us prioritize the work to be done.
So this entire time, people on Zoom cannot see the video, but Facebook can. So I'd like to apologize. I will email it to all the DAB members because that's who's on Zoom.
Okay, great. And then I don't know if there's one more. This is the city's website, where to go to take the survey. We have it in English and we have it in Spanish. We have a pretty wide variety of folks who take in the survey. Just want to continue to increase the variety of folks that we're hearing from, because they're going to have different experiences and different priorities as well. So we can really take what we think are goals and whittle it down to what are the real goals that we're hearing from people and what's doable for us within the next 5 to 10 years for our community to tackle some of those issues. Last slide. Any questions?
So in a beautiful, magical world, how long do you think a good, effective plan takes to actually work?
I think you see plans 5 to 10 years out. and you see some plans that aren't food system plans that are 25 years out. So you gotta pick a time frame that might be things that can be done in the immediate future, and then some things that might be addressed later on. So we're looking at 5 to 10 years, but knowing that the 5-year mark, we say, hey, it's time to keep doing some of this work, but reevaluate, has the needs changed a little bit, have the priorities changed, has the opportunities changed? So as there's different funding opportunities or different partners that enter the space, does it make sense to work on this point over here when that was something 2 years down the road still, but now's the right time? So we want to be able to put in there in that 5-year mark of let's keep reevaluating, keep making sure that this is relevant.
So how does it impact counties that surround us? Like, I mean, thinking about like, I don't know, I'm thinking Harvey is the closest one I can think of, but like, do you foresee it potentially like trickling down to some of those counties to have them get on board, or how does that kind of work knowing that, right, we're surrounded by other counties as well?
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting piece. We have a lot of growers that sell in Suffolk County that actually don't grow in Suffolk County. So one way that it can impact the people in the surrounding counties is if you make it a better environment to sell here, you have more commerce coming into our county to be sold within our county and still keeping money in that local region. So it can help in that way. We see it, we run a program called Double Up Food Box, just for example, and that allows people who have SNAP or food stamps to use it at the farmer's market to then double their dollars. So that extra money they get is just money for more fruits and vegetables. And I can tell you, having that available in our community around here, because it's not really available in probably some of the surrounding counties yet, has increased some of our vendor participation from outside of the county here. So I think we do see some benefit to those around, just based on what people can grow, what people can sell here, how easy it is, or how much demand there is for it around here.
Camille?
As someone who works with different citizens and groups in the community, we get this question of how can policy change help shape donations of end of the day food or day old items to be able to go from the best example, Panera Bread, to the food bank or the church's pantry?
So there's a couple of, I mean, you think about policies that happen at the city or county level, but you can also think about organizational policies. So just at the TV career business, what do we say is our policies? What do we do at the end of the day? Is it throw it away, or are we finding ways that we're doing things a little bit differently? So you have individual policies. And the Health and Wellness Coalition has worked quite a bit with organizations over the years to come up with food donation policies, or even policies about what they're requesting people to donate. So if we have a food drive, we were requesting healthy food instead of just whatever we want to get rid of in your cabinet because it's going bad. So you have organizations that can create policies, but then also there are some existing policies that allow people to donate their leftover food or food that is going bad. And there's some really good recovery programs that are going on. So sometimes it's education about what exists and what can you do and what can you do without being scared of getting in trouble, but also what organizations are already doing it that I can connect with them instead of having to kind of reinvent the wheel. Yes.
Follow up. Can your coalition assist us with the current recovery programs? Are there any initiatives that are helping some local businesses understand how they can recover?
Yeah, so ICT Food Rescue is one that is working kind of on a smaller organization level. If you are, for example, and you have leftover bagels at the end of the night and you need to go somewhere, they will help you get the food, but also connect you to the next place that will save it, a nonprofit usually. So they're working on that smaller scale. The food bank also does amazing things. They get a ton of, and I think they're limited right now for what they're getting up the day old stuff from Dillon's and Sam's and all that, just because things are flying off the shelf. So it's just less to just process back out of it, getting ready to go back. But the food bank does a fantastic job of getting a lot of that food in and then repurposing it back out to organizations who take care of that food.
I think there's a lack of communication in Wichita to know that that is still happening, or that it happened pre-COVID-19. So if we could get some of that to share in our newsletters or other media outlets, I think that would be cool to help us out, because I hear the complaint of it so often.
Yeah, I definitely can sense more way, because like I said, there's great people, organizations doing good things. It's just the education piece comes up a lot, awareness and education. Other questions?
I don't necessarily have a question, but I've got a comment. And because I've already started, I'm going to go and then I'll let you hear that. The whole COVID thing has actually changed a lot of the things that people have actually thought and the way they think. On a national level, we're talking about maybe trying to go ahead and source more domestic stuff so that we could actually make sure that we have that available in case there's another issue. Regionally, I think that's a good idea too, for all kinds of reasons. So everything you said makes a whole lot of sense, but I'd add to it that element. But
I think it's definitely making my life agree now. I think people are really wanting to know where their food is coming from and how do I get it when I can't get it at the store. Wanda, did you have a? Yeah.
So, whenever I'm on a call, I always talk about the food deserts, because that's like number one on my list of things that I know the community talks about. And like you just said, I think COVID put a spotlight on that. So people that are used to getting whatever they want, they got a taste of what it feels like to not be able to get what you want easily. And then the other thing, I think the last call I was on, they talked about having a campaign about ugly fruit. Sometimes we're afraid to buy a banana with a spot, but those are the best bananas. And then they also, to me they are. And then they also talked about a campaign on expiration dates and what they really mean. And so I think those two things would be really awesome for people to know that in some instances, it's okay to buy those things and you get it at a reduced cost.
Right.
But that education piece on when it is it actually okay. So those calls are really informative, and you get a lot of good information, and you're also able to give your ideas of some things. So I highly recommend anybody that has the time to get on the Zoom calls or take the survey, because some good thought is coming out of this. So,
Definitely. Yeah, that is thought when you compile ideas together and there's one person's idea.
and then the other piece that the farmers said that there's it's a lot of red tape and a lot of policy on who can sell and who cannot. And Brandon, I know you experienced that with all the community gardens that have been popping up. We could not easily have a farmer's market. It was too much, so again, policy changes.
That's been, I know that you all have been talking about that. Councilmember Tuttle was kind of leading an effort on, I don't know if this was brought up when I stepped out, but looking at all of the food ordinances in the city of Wichita, potentially Suffolk County, and how all of that impacts farmers markets, produce being grown in community gardens, what's outdated and should be stricken from the record, what can we do to revise all of that, and I think all of that will be a part of the final presentation. So we've been waiting on that. We both know a lot of folks who could potentially sell good produce right now in the community, so we're just waiting to do that. I've encouraged people to take the survey as well.
To piggyback off of that, I'm sorry, just one question. Do you think that will happen, policy change before the end of 2021, potentially some suggestions that'll be brought to the city and county?
Yeah, I mean, once they review it, it'll be a workshop. They'll have a community presentation. That technical piece will be a part of our workshop, and then the council will consider what we can do to modify those.
So my question kind of falls right in line with that. What do you do to get local produce more accessible to people? Like, I know the one farmer's market in my area is at, I want to say Douglas and Oliver. That's Wednesday morning for a couple of hours. It's very restrictive. Those farmers markets, they're not 7 days a week all day long like Dylan's. And especially like in my life, everybody's lives are busy. Convenience is a huge factor in what you eat and where you shop. So how do we get local produce more readily available?
There's like a multi-pronged approach to that, right? Demand increase for it while you increase production. You need to be able to produce easily, and people are saying, can I have more workers on my land so that I can scale up to the demand that I'm seeing? So there's a lot of unclearness to that right now. But also, there's an education piece so that people know that they can get local things. Sometimes at your local Dillons or your local one, they do carry single items, but obviously people want to know what those are, where to get them, and how to find them. But it might be expanding local markets. If you have a local farmers market that has limited days and limited hours and a select audience that it tailors to, but maybe there's opportunity to expand that as well. So I think there's multi pieces to that. and just even getting it into lower food access areas. Double food bucks, I think, has been a really big helpful piece to that in a way. It's not increasing the places where people can buy it yet. That's just of the existing markets. But you're changing people's norms of what they shop for and how they shop and what the heck do I do with a kohlrabi? I don't really know. So like there's education pieces to this. So it takes some time to get to that point. But just being able to show food sellers, producers that, wow, we used to sell this much SNAP food or food stamp food at the farmer's market. Now I sell this much. So we're showing that there's demand for it too and customer base. So like all those are pieces that relate to it as well. So I don't know, it's kind of a long-winded answer. There's multiple levers to put into play with it.
Yeah. But I'll take my first then. Thank you. When we're talking about food deserts, I've sort of always wondered whether or not there's an opportunity to go ahead and somehow combine our blight efforts into opportunities to go ahead and grow neighborhood food in the neighborhood, in those particular areas. And maybe some of the areas that specifically have maybe some of the most need, but I know we've got some. I mean, that might open up additional areas, and I suspect that there could be things that maybe the city might actually be able to go ahead and do, even if it's, taking some of those horse tanks, taking out the bottoms, and giving it a load of dirt to go ahead and put in there to facilitate some raised beds quickly and easily. I mean, you could make some nice tomato patches pretty quick.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think city-wise, much won't happen until ordinances change. If there are community efforts, there's gardens. Janet Wilson had a garden on 11th and Stale. We have one between 10th and 11th on Green. There's one on 15th Poplar. We'll be starting another one on South Pike, south of 9th Street, North Pike. And those we gave produce away, so we weren't selling it, which is against the ordinance. But if we can use our nonprofit partners to help teach, then potentially homes could just start their own tomato patches or community cucumber patches and kind of trade in that way. It's something we've been encouraging, but lack of resources.
I just have a comment. During this whole COVID, I think I've seen more people that I know that have started doing their own garden and doing that. So I don't know, is there an ordinance as far as what you're limited to grow within your home, like as far as fruits, vegetables?
Not that I've seen. Maybe plant trees and.
Yeah, there usually is more regular factor. The issues come more in the on-site, like what kind of equipment can you have on your land? If you wanted to do more commercial growing or a little bit larger scale than just a backyard garden, and then you can do self-grown land. It's where there's some clarity, get the higher zone or the size of your property and things like that. You can grow anything as long as it visually meets those guidelines that exist.
Brandon, you're making piggyback. So, on the conversations with the full service grocery stores, how we talked about, I'm not gonna say the name, but we know the local store that closed and they put a condition on their buildings that another grocery store could not buy the buildings. And we know that grocery stores, they place them in the areas where they need to be, right? Okay, so with that being said, yeah. Have we thought about going out to like Kansas City? They have the high grocery stores. Have we done, forget what's the city has a lot of partners to bring economic development here. Have we tried to reach out to some of those other large grocers outside of this area?
So I don't have the list in front of me of what my predecessor reached out to. I know I personally spoke with.
Hy-Vee, I said hi, it's Hy-Vee.
And then there's another one.
I did not speak with them. I spoke with a few folks who are here local, called their regional or national office and talked to them about that. And proximity was an issue to other stores, which, as you said, stores are placed in locations for a reason. So where that store could be replaced, they won't allow it. So Outside of that though, that's when we started looking at the smaller model with like local folks, so opening up a smaller opportunity. I will say, I always try to give kudos to people that help. Senator Moran have really been trying to help us find a small business or a big business coming into the food desert and potentially open multiple stores, but those talks just never worked out. But he really tried. I mean, he was sending letters, using the Senate letterhead, calling folks, and we could never get a fight. But I think that may change now. People are seeing this a little different, so hopefully we see some change.
So I think I might even know what building Luana was speaking of specifically, because that's what I was thinking.
You guys have free reign to speak. You can say a business name you choose to make as a DAP member.
Okay, so
It is your
the
choice to say, to name these
Walmart neighborhood
chains.
market.
And Gillens.
Yeah.
You can
so-
say what you want to say.
Yes.
Specifically, what I was thinking was that Walmart neighborhood market at 13th and Oliver. I guess the ordinance would probably have to change, but is there any reason that we couldn't have maybe a city-owned building sponsored co-op where local produce could be sold?
But we don't have a city-owned facility in that area.
Well, I would say, hypothetically, if the city were to purchase that building, but I mean, somebody's occupying it now.
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah.
like the Quick
So in
Trip,
theory, yes.
Yeah, even the Quick Trip.
That building, there's a lot of additional tax stuff that was tied to that, so the city probably wouldn't. I think there's still money owed to the city.
Or even some smaller buildings around there. There's a couple other buildings that are vacant.
So we've talked about using potential HUD funds on something like that. I will say COVID stopped a lot of those discussions because we focused solely on how to keep everything going, but we could come back to something.
Yeah, instead of trying to bring in another national retailer, being able to sell those locally grown goods out of a building that's open, 5 or 6 days a week.
Well, the effort we were pushing when the NAACP Youth Council came to the city council, there is a local individual who has a small store who was working with Pearson McClish, which is a local grower, Pearson Farm, and we were trying to make that collaboration happen. So she actually has a mobile market. I don't know if that's what you were talking about. Common Ground, they do 33 or 36 sites in 3 different counties, most here in Wichita. And they get that fresh produce out. They actually partner with a number of local growers, and COVID has caused her to partner with even more local growers because it just kept running out. So, yeah, but a lot of the effort, in my view, is supporting efforts like that, so we keep everything local, people who are in the community, of the community, that can survive in the community.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking co-op. You guarantee that anything that comes in is from the community.
Yeah, there's a group, I think Luanda's in that group, that's trying to work on bringing a co-op, and I haven't checked in, but that is.
That would be awesome.
seed money, just gonna throw it out there.
What if I had it, I know.
Spending, like, utilizing the right resources for the right partners in the right way.
Can someone check their Facebook? Mine doesn't have anything on it.
All good, really good discussion here. Did you see any other questions from the community? So, fantastic. Tammy, are there any parting comments you want to leave us with?
Take the surveys you have done, and after feeling friends to do so as well.
Tammy didn't say this, but maybe we can look at getting rid of candy corn forever.
Hey.
It's not healthy, it's too much sugar.
I'll second that one.
All things in moderation, all sugar in moderation.
Except candy corn. There's a good trash can out there.
My grandmother's gonna come hunt you. My grandmother's gonna come hunt you. Tammy, thanks for your time, Sasha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Best mom
No impact again.
All right, so that moves us out of item 9, and that moves us into 10. So we're into updates, issues, and reports.
Can we ask Zoom to go first?
We absolutely can. That's a fantastic idea. So You just saying from a timing perspective? let
We
them go?
have Danielle, Tadon, Nikayla, and Ruben as staff members online. If you guys
Hey.
want to unmute and share any updates or type in the chat that you would like us to share. Danielle, I just saw your question. I'll get it back to her, but you can see the answer now. Nikayla?
Yep, I've got a comment. It kind of goes, it's a great segue from the food systems. The initiative Community Project Fridge or Project Community Fridge is hosting, or their second fridge is going to be hosted at the CHD Boxing Club. And so they are going to now be able to have a fridge full of fresh produce and some snacks for the youth that come through the program, because oftentimes some of them have mentioned, you know, they're hungry, and wellness is a part of that program. So we're really excited about that, and to see how else this food system can be incorporated, and just learn more about educating.
And if I can add to that, Nikayla, she's talking about a boxing club at 9th and Poplar, which is in the middle of 9th and Grove, a food desert area. So she's saying that second fridge is going to be right there.
Yes.
Give you a visualization of where it's going. Thank you. Anything else you want to share in your world?
I think that's it for me.
Okay. Danielle, Tadon, or Ruben?
I don't have anything.
So I was late today because I was at rehearsal for my school play. We're putting on a production of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. It will be open to the public. It's going to be the first week of November. There's going to be 4 performances, but it's going to be like half seating, but it's also going to be live streamed online.
Thanks. When you get that live stream, we can share with the other DAB members.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
Good luck on the show.
Danielle, if you want to type or unmute, there you go.
All I have to say is keep all students, even as college students, in your thoughts. This online stuff is extremely hard, so keep us in your thoughts. We're struggling.
Got this.
Speaking of, I was gonna ask when the lady was talking about the resource for helping young students transition to online, like, does that apply for adults going to college?
Right, the freshmen going to college? Yeah, YMCA is just for freshmen. I think it's also cool to segue that the Boys and Girls Club is also offering some in-person social distance seating for some of their youth in their program. And then as their attendance level evens out, they'll spread it out. And they're hosting it at Urban Preparatory, which is a private school here in the Northeast area, 24th and Estelle. So we are seeing a lot of collaborations. I have offered this space, the room you're sitting in, to some people who have foster care groups, like if they need to bring a couple of laptops someday to leave the foster home, just to have a different setting. So just know that I've offered at Water Resource Center 3 of our rooms to some of those foster parents and group residential homes too, just to, again, break up the norm. People are tired of sitting at home since March, right? Anything else?
September 19th and the 26th, there will be a voter registration drive. There's a lot of different community groups that have partnered, like the Black Nurses and NAACP. Kristen's gonna kill me.
It's in the newsletter.
It's in the
The flyers
newsletter.
in the
The flyers in the newsletter. So September 19th and 26th, Metroplex from 4 to 7. They're really making a push for 18 and older, but you know, if you just turned 18, this will be a great opportunity to get out and register to vote. And there will be another one on October the 10th. So just stand by for more information on that one. But the next 2 Saturdays, Metroplex 4 to 7.
Rock Christian Fellowship.
Thank you, Rock Christian Fellowship.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yep.
You're good. I don't have anything.
So if you are if you're gonna be 18 by election day, you can register.
Yes. The cool thing about WSU, they are going to be an election site this year.
Yes, he said
On
that.
the
Gabriel.
22nd.
Yes.
Yes. We're making a big announcement next week.
Okay. Send me flyers. As soon as, please forward them to me. Please don't assume that I get every flyer in Wichita because I do not. Please share it to me through Messenger, through email, through Facebook, tag my, well, you can't tag me, but you can share it to me through a Messenger or email it to me. You can text it to me if you have my number, but I literally miss out on some flyers. I can't be everywhere at once looking for them virtually now. But let's continue to share.
We did have one more thing. I forgot, I wanted to pledge to you all that I will be fighting on your behalf to make sure that we stop referring to boneless chicken wings.
Saucy nuts.
Saucy nubs, chicken nuggets, they are not wings.
To Don, no, to Don, they are called chicken fillet, like fish fillet.
I saw the alert come in that Mary Johnson was going live, like, oh crap, what's happening? I stopped a meeting. Student members I stopped everything, and it was sitting there like, oh my God,
That is so funny.
what is your husband
Uh,
He stopped all the meetings I had and said, we gotta watch this. I don't know what it is.
And he broadcasted from back in that word. I'm sitting there at my desk like, oh, he's back there doing something. So I have a parting view before you do a adjournment. Today marks 5 years of me being with the city. So I want to thank y'all for putting up with that.
Hey, congratulations.
Congratulations, Camila.
Thank you for keeping us informed of everything. Oh my God, you're a one-stop shop. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion.
Make the motion. You can
Motion to adjourn.
And seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Bye.
Aye, yeah.
make-